Welcome all sports fans, YouTubers, Facebookers, all social media across the nation. Uneducated Network on YouTube presents Uneducated Sports Talk, along with Brian Wilkerson. I'm your host, Carlos Clayton, and this is our college casual football talk, week 11. Guys, if you thought it was crazy before, wait till now. Things got crazy. We're going to break it all down, top 10, all the games from last week. Before we do that, please, if you haven't, like and subscribe to Uneducated Network, to where we talk about all genres of life. It's more than just a YouTube channel. It's a way of life. So that being said, Mr. Brian Wilkerson, welcome to week 12 now, but week 11 was crazy, man. So we had marquee games. Georgia, Auburn, Notre Dame versus Miami, and then OU versus the TCU. So we were in for a treat, and boy, did we get one.
Yeah, we found out a lot this week.
We sure did. So let's start off with, in our case, the marquee game, Georgia and Auburn. Just because Georgia, at the time, number one seed. Break it on down, man.
Man, this was really disappointing for me. This is what happens when you run a pro-style offense. Auburn showed up. The Auburn defense that showed up to play Clemson in that game in week 2 showed up to play this game. They said, you're not running the ball anywhere on us.
Right.
And that's just how life is going to be. Georgia couldn't get anything going on the ground. And when you run that type of offense where run first, pass second, and you have a pocket passer quarterback, sometimes you can get away with that when you have a guy that can run around and scramble, and you can still try read option and make the defense think another way. But if you got a pocket passer quarterback like Georgia's got, and the run game is just not going anywhere, you're just not going to score a lot of points, man. And if you're not getting off, if you're not staying on the field and giving your defense a rest, and you're not scoring, man. Jarrett Stidham and company, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't.
Right.
They showed up this week. And he can launch a football, man. Talking about 40, 50-yard passes for touchdowns.
Well, Georgia comes in Auburn and they lose 40-17. Was it? It was 7-3 at one point. Well, somebody had 7.
It was 7-3.
7-3, and then
halfway through the first quarter.
Yeah, and you figured, okay, it's another one of them tight, close ball games, and somehow Georgia's going to pull it off, and they don't. Auburn kept scoring.
It up. Yeah.
They kept scoring. I was like, whoa, what is going on? I'm at a bowling alley at my daughter's birthday party, watching it on the Jumbotron. Happy birthday to you. I'm still looking up. I'm like, what is going on? How is Georgia not scoring? Shocking, but then again, not so shocking.
No.
We'll talk about the Notre Dame versus Miami game in just a second. But Georgia comes in high, the number one. And do you think about it? Their toughest competition was Notre Dame. But how good is Notre Dame? And how good is the SEC East? We know it's bad.
Yeah.
We know it's bad. We know they're the cream of the crop. Their first time facing a SEC West good opponent. This is what you see. This is the recipe right here. It's showing you that they're probably just not that good, and I didn't believe it because they looked so good dominating these SEC East teams. They beat Notre Dame, and all that was looking good. They beat.
Don't forget, I made a mistake, but don't forget they did dismantle a Mississippi State team that took Alabama down to the wire.
Exactly. Yes. So I'm saying like. This team had to do this, and then to come out there and lay a big old, just lay a dump, knowing that you have every single game is a playoff game now, your mindset, and they did not come out as it was a playoff game. They came out like it was just another game, and that's what happens. The SEC West, we know, is the far superior part of that conference division. They're much better. It shows that maybe the East is just that bad, in my opinion. Can Georgia still anyway?
They have one saving grace.
Yeah, they do. It's called a championship, right?
Yeah, they're going to go to the championship at this point. That's kind of set in stone. The good thing for Georgia is their loss comes on the other side of the conference. They didn't lose in the East, so they're still pretty much a shoe-in to get to the championship game. If they can pull that off, which is going to be hard because when you think about run-stopping defenses, the first team that comes to mind are the Crimson Tide.
Right.
So unless Auburn somehow pulls out a miracle in the Iron Bowl and Alabama doesn't make it to the championship, some kind of wacky scenario like that, Georgia's going to have to go through Alabama to get to the playoff.
Right.
But it's still doable. If they beat Alabama, the committee's going to have quite the conundrum with that one.
Right. Because you got Auburn, who's just one loss in the division. Still a chance to actually represent the SEC West with a win over Alabama.
Right.
So, yeah, like you said, you just never know, man. That would be crazy to see an Auburn versus Georgia rematch. I'm telling you, I want to see it, but I also want to see Bama versus Georgia too. So, but let's talk about a team that Georgia beat. They have our eyes open, saying that this team is for real, because we thought the team that we're talking about now is for real. That team is the Fighting Irish from Notre Dame. They go into a hostile Miami crowd, and Miami is ready. They're rocking and rolling, and this was our team beat-up versus team Carlos pick. I had Miami. He had Notre Dame, and, of course, Notre Dame gets slacked up. Slacked up. I don't know. Is that a word? Slack? Wait, slacking. It is. It's not. They get beat down 41-8. Miami, we all know about the chain game. If you didn't know, it was very popular, this particular game.
You know now.
I mean, they probably won that chain, it felt like 20 times, man. It felt like it. They win 41-8, dismantle a Notre Dame team that, in our opinions, looked very good. We said as long as you have a run game and you have a defense, you can bring that anywhere. And Miami said, well, look here, we'll bring a better run game and a better defense. So it doesn't matter. And just when we always thought Miami was winning these close games early in the season against inferior opponents, the last 2 weeks, Virginia Tech team this game, they beat them pretty handily. And Notre Dame beat them pretty handily.
Ranked in the top four. So.
Yes. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to ask you, is this Miami team for real?
Miami is for real. Because the great equalizer in all of football are turnovers.
Right.
And this team has a knack for creating turnovers. There's I think they're plus 10 or 12 in the turnover department on the season right now.
That's good.
So, yeah, when you have that ability to create points on defense,
right,
that's something special.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you that makes you for real. If you can do that against a team that is known for running and grounding and pounding,
right,
and you can get them in situations where they got to, put the ball in the air,
mm-hmm,
and you can come up with those interceptions and turnovers and make that happen, that makes you special.
This team here, I believed in them last week I finally became a believer. I said, you know what, they beat a really good Virginia Tech team. Well, a game Virginia Tech team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say really good, but a team that's a decent.
They were
team.
competitive.
And, yeah, very competitive throughout the whole entire season, except against Clemson. And they beat them not so much handily. It was still 28-14, but you felt like, it looked good. It looked good. And I said, you know what, I believe this Miami team. They've been playing good defense. I didn't know how great this defense was until you found out against Notre Dame. Like you said, when you don't turn the ball over as offense, and then you get turnovers as a defense, like you said, the great equalizer. And that is what Miami, that's what they've been preaching all year. That's why they got the chain game, They brought some excitement. You brought the old, before that game started, you had the old Catholics versus convicts. And you're like, yeah, let's go. And then the pregame hyped you up. And that was it. That was it.
It was over.
From jump, Notre Dame got stumped. The run game, Adams was stumped. I mean, Word said he had a concussion. I don't know what really happened. We heard
Notre
the quarterback
come in banged up.
Yeah, quarterback came in with a hand problem. He had like a bad wrist or hand. I don't know what it was, but that's still no excuse because they both played.
Yeah,
they both played, and you got to come out. And it's a playoff game, a playoff atmosphere, and they did not show up. And now, my question to you is: was Notre Dame just that bad, or is Miami that much better than we thought?
Notre Dame coming in banged up, you make some issues or adjustments or kind of mistakes there. I think this Miami team is just better than we thought.
Right.
I don't think they're necessarily. I mean, they stomped a hole in Notre Dame, so obviously they were much better than Notre Dame was on this particular evening. But I don't think they're pulling away from the pack in terms of how compared to everybody else in the top 10, but this Miami team is solid. They're for real, and I think they just are that much better than we thought they were last week.
I'm the same way. I think Miami's just that much better as well. I think the same thing. We didn't give them as much recognition because what they've been in the past. That's why you're hearing so much talk about Notre Dame being the favorite and Miami not. But this team, like you said, they didn't catch Miami because their offense was inept. No. But now if the offense can get you 24 to 30 points, that defense, I haven't seen the defense give up no more than, it feels like no more than 17 points all year, to be honest, but we just haven't been talking about it. Miami's under the radar the whole entire season, and they go from, when it first came out, they were number 10, I believe. When the rankings first came out, week 8? They come out, the first playoff rankings?
Right.
Yeah, I think they're number 10. And we said they're undefeated, so we'll just put them in there because they're undefeated. That's how I felt. But now seeing this team coming out and demonstrating how good they really are, especially that defense. That defense is fast. It reminds me of the old Miami Hurricanes back in the late 80s and the early 90s. The U, baby. And look here. They're for real. I said it last week, and now I'm really saying it. They are for real. Clemson has better watch out. They already automatically going to play each other for the ACC championship, and I cannot wait to see that game, because that right there is an automatic playoff invitation.
Yeah.
Whoever wins that game, I'm excited for that. And it's still gonna be in Carolina. I believe they moved it, that ACC championship game somewhere else. It's not in Charlotte. Not in Charlotte anymore. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kudos to Miami. They go out there and they get a big bump from the committee. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And Notre Dame, they fell down just a little bit. But we have one more marquee game to talk about, and that was TCU versus Oklahoma. And this, for sure, in our opinion, this was a win.
Losing you're out,
win you have a chance to stay in.
Yeah.
We knew that for sure. Both these two teams could ill afford any kind of loss, and that made it so much better, and it made the win from Oklahoma that much more significant, in my opinion. They defeat Horned Frogs 38-20, and basically a game ran by Oklahoma. They showed no weakness, in my opinion. Their defense came out and actually played. I thought you're looking at a 45-38 kind of shootout, something like that. Oklahoma's defense, and I think now, I can say it now. I think I can say it. Baker Mayfield, Heisman Trophy winner. I'm stamping it there. I had Saquon Barkley the whole entire time. We'll talk about that in just a minute, though. But in this game, Baker Mayfield comes out, and he doesn't make any mistakes. And that's been his Achilles heel over the last year or two. He'll give you the 300 to 400 yards, but he'll throw a costly or a timely interception or make a bad decision, because he's known for doing that. Brett Favre mentality, gunslinger kind of guy, in this game, no mistakes. When receivers recovered, he threw it to his check down. And boy, Anderson, number 24, that is a wonderful check down to have, because he's the kind of guy we saw in this game. He'll take a 10-yard pass and turn it into 50 yards. And he did that on at least two occasions this game. OU, they're looking pretty good. And they're advancing. They're surviving and advancing. TCU, can we say that TCU was out?
TCU's out.
TCU's out.
They're
all right. I want to know your thoughts about OU versus TCU, man.
It was a good contest. I'm not so 100% sold on this Oklahoma defense just yet.
Right.
Kenny Hill did go down, as well as the other Anderson that played in this game, running back for TCU. He's in fact out for the rest of the season after this week. So, you lose key guys like that. Not an excuse to lose a game, but when you lose those kind of guys and you try to replace guys like that, it makes the opposing defense look a little bit better, because those guys are just a little bit less experienced. Right. Gotcha. So I'm not quite sold on this Oklahoma defense just yet. We all knew they could play offense. We all knew Baker Mayfield was going to come in and light it up, because that's just what he does. This is how he plays ball. Right. I prefer not to talk about the Heisman Trophy personally. I don't like the award. I'm not a fan of that award per se, but he's definitely got a good shot. I would still probably pick Saquon Barkley at this point in the season myself, but he definitely has put in. I think those are your 1-2 punch right there.
Obviously,
I don't even think.
Don't even find a third person.
Yeah, this season, I don't think we need a third. I think just those two guys right there. We'll just take both of them to New York, and we'll decide between that. TCU definitely out. Oklahoma is in for now. They're still going to have to win a championship, though. They have to win out. That's the thing. So, I'm still not convinced about that defense. The defense has a little bit more to prove, and Oklahoma does have to win the rest of the way in order to make it in.
It almost feels like Oklahoma has 2 losses for some reason, and they don't. you look there and they said just that one loss to, I believe, Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Wow. It's how funny one game can change a whole season in college. You lose to an Iowa State team who isn't half bad, but still, you lose to that team. It was at home, right?
At home.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, my God. But they're, I'm not going to say that they're lucky they're in the Big 12 kind of feel. And there's a Big 12 championship game for the first time. So
yes.
they finally have a decent chance to actually go
to make
deep.
A solid case.
Yeah, solid case, yeah, because most likely, is it TCU most likely? I heard, most likely it'll be TCU. Something. I don't know how that division, that conference divides their teams up. I don't know. So, but I'm hearing TCU's on one side and Oklahoma's on the other side, and they can face each other again for round 2. But they have a case. And here we go. OU sitting there with one loss. Can they ill afford another loss?
They cannot lose.
They cannot lose.
They cannot lose a second game.
All right.
We have a lot of teams up there with 2 losses, but you're looking at a loss to Iowa State and then whoever else it may be.
Right.
Because at this point they've played TCU, they've played Oklahoma State. Those are your 2 losses that you can afford, and they already won those 2 games. So if you're looking at another loss like that, particularly if it's a shootout type of game or something that gets 2 touchdowns or more, or if you get in a shootout with somebody you have no business getting in a shootout with, that's going to be a big detractor for the committee in terms of Oklahoma's playoff implications in that one.
All right. We had a number 1 Alabama versus number 16 Mississippi State. They go into, what is it called, Starks Valley?
Starkville, Mississippi.
Yeah, they go into there, and boy, that was a barn burner for a minute. I'm not going to lie. We almost thought that 1, 2, and 3 would go down the same day for the first time ever in college history, and it almost happened. 2 and 3 went down. We just discussed that. Number 1, Alabama, they survive, and they keep advancing. They win 31-24, I believe.
31-24.
Off of some... that
final sequence.
Alabama luck, that's how it goes, man.
That final sequence. For those of you that are not familiar, Mississippi State actually had the lead in this game going into the fourth quarter. They're up 24-17, and somewhere in the beginning half of the fourth quarter, Alabama picked up another touchdown. And but what was important to me was the very end of the way this game shaked out,
right?
Because it was just this wacky circumstance of events where Alabama drives the field. They take up all the time off of the clock like Alabama does. They get down, but Mississippi State's defense holds firm. They get a couple of key problems on some sort of intermediate routes that Alabama was trying to throw, and that Alabama offensive line could not block, dude. They couldn't hold up a pocket for Jalen Hurts if their lives depended on it. And so that knocks Alabama back into field goal range, and they miss the field goal.
No good.
So it's still tied. And then Mississippi State comes back, and in some kind of strange, I don't know what the play calling thinking was in this situation, they ended up having to use their final timeout on the back end of the Alabama drive. So they have no timeouts.
Right.
They chose to go for it. So they go 2 passes in a row. They don't complete either pass.
No time went off the clock. So you got to run at least one time. Yeah, at least one against Bama.
Keep in mind, they haven't taken any. Alabama still has 2 timeouts. They haven't taken any timeouts off Alabama. If you hit one of those 2 passes, you're looking good. It's questionable because you missed both of them, but they were such easy throws. Right. They were. It wasn't anything complicated. They weren't taking shots down the field on first or second down. It was just some slant out route, timing routes, get the ball out quick so we can get the chains moving and the clock going, and they just couldn't complete it. So Mississippi State goes down 1-2-3. There was a sack on the 3rd down, I believe, which forced them into a punt. And from there on, it was basically over. Alabama did what Alabama does best. Yep, basically, they got a couple of quick slants off, and then
it was a 3rd and long, right?
Yeah.
And then the slant, 3rd and 15, something like that. Something like that. Slant. They had an all-out blitz. It felt like it. Slant, and he took it 30, 40 yards. Really did. And that's just what Bama does, man. They just find ways to win games, and that's why they've been my number 1 pretty much the whole entire season. So. Broke down the marquee games. Yes, Wisconsin won too as well. They even played, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
They did play. They did beat somebody.
They beat somebody.
It's nobody important.
Nobody important. That's right. All right, we break down our new top 10 that the committee has come out with.
All right, fresh out of the committee for this week, Alabama in at number 1. Clemson taking that number 2 spot. By virtue of beating the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, Miami has jumped from 7 all the way up to 3.
It's crazy.
Oklahoma slid into that number 4 spot. Wisconsin up to number 5. Auburn, by virtue of beating Georgia, has advanced to number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia falling into number 7. Notre Dame has fallen all the way down to 8. Ohio State and Penn State round out the top 10 from the committee this season. Carlos, what do you think? What are you feeling?
I'm loving it. I'm with you. We need 8 teams. We gotta have 8 teams.
Man.
We got to, and this is gonna make the case big time because I think the losses aren't done yet. There's gonna be more losses. I'm kind of you will get a 2-loss team in here, and maybe 2, but I don't see 2.
No.
But I can see a scenario where we're rooting for a 2-loss team to get in another one.
Yeah.
Like, well, that 2-loss team is better than that 1-loss team. But before we get into that, Miami at 3. Spoiler alert, I got Miami at 3 as well. I thought I would come out and say, hey, you know what? I'm putting Miami over Oklahoma at 3. No, the committee said, we feel you, Carlos. We feel you. We feel you. We knew what you were thinking. We put Miami at 3, and that right there, I'm like, I like that. You know why? The defense that Miami brings. The chain gang. I want to buy me a chain now, just like hanging around every time they get a turnover. But that being said, Miami going to number 3. I like that. This committee is not playing any games. 1, strength of schedule, like you said.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is still undefeated, and they are still out the playoffs. And I like that. We're going to find out to the end of the season for the Big Ten championship. That's when we'll find out if Wisconsin's in or not.
They are they are on the outside looking in as far as the committee's concerned. They're right there.
Committee's like, man, we got.
But they need a
they're
little help.
undefeated, but we just
They
can't
need a
put
little
them in because they play nobody. But we'll find out if they go all the way to the Big Ten championship and beat either whoever's representing
somebody,
either
somebody will
Michigan,
be
Michigan
on the other side of
State,
it.
Ohio State, Penn State. One of those 4 guys are going in. But we will find out if they win. They go undefeated. Most likely they're in. You just can't not. I'm saying they're in. If Wisconsin can go undefeated, because Miami is going to play Clemson. One of them, those 2 guys are going to lose out, and that's when we're rooting for that 2-loss team to get in, because we might think that 2-loss team is better than that 0-loss Wisconsin team. Just saying.
I don't know. I think even maybe Miami with 1 loss to Clemson maybe get in over Wisconsin.
Yes, because we keep forgetting Miami's still undefeated.
Yeah.
Bama's still undefeated, so I mean those guys have got to. No, we're not worried about Bama. Bama's can lose 1 game and still be fine automatically. But Miami, with a 1-loss Miami team, it depends on how they lose to Clemson. If it's a close game or somewhat respectable, they can still make a 4 seed. They get blown out 52-0.
Oh well,
then they're out. They're out. But Clemson number 2. I still have Clemson as number 2, but in my opinion, I think they're the best team in the league, still top to bottom, even though they had some close games this year. Notre Dame at 8 and Ohio State at 9 and 10. I cannot argue it. I want to argue it so bad, like Ohio State just got beat down by Iowa, and they're at number 9, still with a chance. But at the same time, who are you going to put in over those guys? You put in South Florida. I know they're undefeated, but they haven't played anybody either. So South Florida, I'm like, where's South Florida at? They're undefeated still, but still at 17-16 because they played cupcakes. So that's tough for me because, like I said, Penn State, Ohio State, it's like, they don't deserve to really get in, but they have a shot still. And that's why I'm saying this 8 team is much needed because of this year.
So many
it could have helped us big time, and then you don't feel bad for the 9 and 10.
No.
But right here, you're gonna feel bad for the 5, 6, and 7, man. It's tough. So how do you think about the top 10 so far?
I'm really torn on this emphasis that the committee's been putting on the head-to-head matchups this year. Sometimes I feel good about it, sometimes I don't. Auburn at 6, Georgia at 7. Georgia's still a better team than Auburn to me. With only 1 loss. Let's not forget, the only loss that Georgia has is to Auburn. Mm-hmm. And there's, 1 slip up. I've always been a proponent of, I want to get more teams with more losses. I want harder schedules. But in this instance, Georgia is a 1-loss squad. Auburn is a 2-loss squad. And the only thing that Auburn really has going for them is that they beat Georgia. And, they came in at number 10. Georgia was number 1.
Right.
I just don't like it.
I like it. Strength of schedule. I know that Georgia played at Notre Dame, but Auburn has already played. Their losses came to LSU, which we saw they can hang with some teams, and then their loss was against Clemson, who's the number 2 team in the nation. And then you factor in the head-to-head, they played each other, and yes, if Georgia was at home against Auburn, they might put up the same scenario. They might win 40-17, but the problem was they're not, and that's just the way the schedule goes. You do a home game here, home game there. Auburn smacked them up 40-17. So in our minds we think Georgia's the better team. Look, the head-to-head we saw with OU and Ohio State. The committee's not playing.
Yeah.
Look, you got your one chance to play this team. You better come out and beat them. If not, we're going to put that against you.
Yeah.
And I like that fact from the committee that they're saying, you know what? You had your shot against Auburn and you lost. Auburn's ahead of you until something else happens. They lose to Clemson and they brought that defense you were talking about against Clemson. They brought that same defense to Georgia, but this time they scored more points. What it's showing is, I think, they're looking at who's trending, who's coming down. Auburn is trending. They've been trending for a while now. Outside the loss against LSU, after that they've been just scoring points on top of everybody. So they're going in the right direction, and I think so. I respect the 6 and 7. Notre Dame dropping to 8. Look, maybe Miami's just that good. I was like, Notre Dame, what are you doing at 8? Just get out of it. But like I said, the Big Ten / independent, they're tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. And I respect the Big Ten for what it is. It's a tough conference. Got a lot of good teams in it, especially on that on the Michigan State side, all those guys. So they're going to beat each other up, which is pretty unfair.
Yeah.
But
shout-outs to how bad the Pac-12 is, by the way. Somehow there are 2 2-loss squads in here that are from the Big Ten. And the Big Ten still has 3 squads in the top 10. The ACC has two squads in the top 10. And the SEC still has 3 squads in the top 10, and one of those squads is a 2-loss squad.
Right.
So just shout out to how bad the Pac-12 has been.
Pac-12.
Like they can't even crack the top 10. Not just the top 4.
Well,
they can't even get inside the top 10.
They had a loss too, right? Washington lost.
They lost
somebody.
to Cal.
Yeah. This week.
No, not this week.
They lost. They lost this week to.
They lost this week.
They lost this week. Yeah, that's 2 losses. That's why they're not in the top 10. They're number 9. I
they
believe.
They played Stanford.
They
lost to Stanford.
Stanford put a slacking on them. You're right. There you go. Thank you. Stanford gave them a beat down. And I'm like, okay, well, that's done with the Pac-12. They're out of Washington with the last hope. And with a 2-loss team, that conference this year has been a joke. So
shout outs to how bad the Pac-12 is. It's
right.
made
Hashtag shout out to the Pac-12.
It's made all of these decisions much more difficult.
Right. So the top 10, it is what my top 4. I'll talk about it, but I got it the same as the committee. We'll just talk about that in a second. Before we go, our next week, there aren't any really good games at all. All the good teams are basically taking bye weeks. It's not bye weeks, but they're playing against inferior opponents. You have Clemson versus Citadel. Yeah. Bama versus Mercer. Those kind of games. Yeah.
We got some charity games this week.
Wisconsin versus Michigan is the only game that has ranked teams in it. Michigan at 24, Wisconsin at 5. So that is the only playoff implication, major factor game that we have.
And the Big 12 better pray to the Lord above that Wisconsin can win this game.
Well,
who you got?
Who you got?
Because if they lose, it's over.
Who you got?
I've got Wisconsin.
Good. I got Michigan. Guess what? Team Brian versus Team Carlos. He's going with Wisconsin. I'm going with Michigan. If we can't be the number 1 seed in the playoffs, we'll at least play spoiler to Wisconsin. Let's go. We'll talk about that in our next episode as well, man. So I'm feeling that. He's got Wisconsin.
I
got Michigan.
I don't believe in Michigan's offense, dude.
I don't believe it.
They don't score.
But they will score 30 against Wisconsin.
They'll score 30. You heard it here first, folks. Michigan will score 30 points.
Right.
I don't even care who they play. Michigan is going to score 30 points. That's ridiculous.
We will recap that game and all the other games as well. Hopefully we get upset somewhere. We don't know, but I don't know where to find it at. But we'll hopefully get one. So before we wrap up, let me get your top 4. If the playoff started right now, who you got in the top 4?
Today. I've got Alabama at number 1. Miami and the Chain Gang in at number 2. Being undefeated, large statement win against Notre Dame. Clemson has a loss. So Clemson's at 3, Miami's at 2. Oklahoma will slide up in at 4. And on my bubble, I still have Georgia.
Okay.
I still think Georgia is worth a number 5 seed, even with that poor loss to Auburn.
Gotcha. All right. I'm going number 4 is Oklahoma. Number 3 is Miami, the chain game. Number 2, Clemson. And number 1, obviously, is Bama. My number 5, that's tough, but I'm with you, though. I'm going with Georgia. Georgia at number 5. 1 loss, they can rebound, SEC championship. So they're my number 5 right now, going in there. So the playoffs started. I got Oklahoma versus Alabama, Miami versus Clemson, but that's going to shake up because they're going to play each other in the ACC championship anyway. So, but I got Miami number 3, and they look good. You got them at 2, so that surprised me. That's a statement right there. Basically, you started OU versus Bama. OU versus Bama, man, that's going to be a good one if they do phase. It's that potent offense versus that Bama defense. They spread it out, basically a Bama's Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Good spread them out team. That's going to be tough. I still say Bama wins because Bama put up points. I think Bama put up, it'll be one of those 45 to like 30 games, I think. Something like that, if they did play. But I would love to see that matchup, man. But I think we broke everything down. So like I said, next week, Wisconsin versus Michigan. And then we'll talk about something else.
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. The season is getting close and close to its end. It's only making it more worthwhile talking about an 8-man playoff now instead of 4 because you're going to feel bad for one of these teams. But, we'll be rooting for a 2-loss team to get in over a 1-loss team, I'm pretty sure, at the end of the season. So let's go. # make it 8 teams, damn it. Maybe not the damn it part, but anyways. But with that being said, man, this is Brian Wilkerson. I'm your host, College Clayton. Uneducated Network presents Uneducated Sports Talk. You know what time it is, fellas. As always, stay smart, stay uneducated. Peace.